Folks, I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am about today's guest because today we have a guy who is very knowledgeable about all things that are military, and specifically he will be able to speak with some gravitas, some experience on the topic of America being at war with Iran. But first I want to tell you I'm going to be 58 years old next month. And in my 57.9 years on Earth, I've seen a lot of things. I have seen many things. Let's see, where is my thing? I can't see my I can't see my thing here. Here we go. I have seen 9/11. I have seen the first Black president elected to the United States of America. I have also seen the first convicted felon elected to the United States of America. But the strangest thing I think that I have ever seen is a guy who has spent so much time and energy trying to convince people that he is deserving of some kind of peace award, to the extent where he is actively campaigned to be given an award, even to the extent that he would debase himself. Well, he can't really debase a guy who's like all the way down, but he would he would happily accept someone else's Nobel Peace Prize that he most certainly has not earned. This is the same guy who campaigned on no new wars, on being the president of peace. In Trump in 2024, he said no new wars. In Trump in 2025, he said everybody said I would start a war, and suddenly in 2026, oops, all wars.
Our policy of never-ending war, regime change, and nation building is being replaced by the clear-eyed pursuit of American interests. I'm proud to be the only president in decades who did not start a new war. Everyone said, oh, he's going to start. They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
A few moments later.
Courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight.
And he is correct in saying that no president was willing to do what he was willing to do, because what he did is illegal. He started an illegal war. He did not seek congressional approval. Now, with that said, without any further ado, joining us today is a man who has spent over 35 years on the front lines of global security. A retired U.S. Navy senior chief petty officer specializing in naval cryptology and an expert in Arabic-speaking intelligence, he has firsthand combat experience in the Middle East, specifically during the Iran-Iraq War and Operation Praying Mantis, where he was aboard the USS Wainwright during the sinking of the Iranian missile boat Joshan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sure. He is also a prolific author with 9 published books to his name, including the New York Times bestseller, The Plot to Betray America. He is one of the nation's preeminent voices on counter-terrorism and asymmetric warfare. After the break, folks, I will be bringing on my friend, the illustrious Malcolm Nance. So I hope you're ready to get into some stuff, because I am. Let's go. incredible person, incredible human being.
Yes,
We're famous. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, there he is, Malcolm Nance. Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Hey, man, glad to be on the Defiant Radio. This is awesome. Your backdrop is just amazing. I mean, just that's why you're so big. I got to get some neon behind me.
You see, here's the thing. I need the neon because I'm not Malcolm Nance. Brother, you are the neon. You are the bells and whistles. And I really thank you for being here because I know, especially during times like this, your schedule is probably jam-packed. Am I right?
Yeah, and but if I did get neon, I would have a giant sign above my head that said, "I effing told you so." And I don't know how many times I've done analyses, particularly when I was at MSNBC, which I was on for 7 years, I think. I would warn about crazy things or seemingly crazy things, and they all come true. And that's the fundamentals of being a good intelligence analyst, right? Or a good, I went from intelligence collection to analysis to doing geopolitical analysis. But people say, well, you're not a journalist. I'm not. I was a spy that talked on television. Everything I spoke about and what I use now on my Substack and my YouTube channel is based on experience. And brother, what we're going to talk about tonight, I've already done. Starting back in the 1980s. I know you think you're old. You ain't old. You ain't that old, Sonny. when you were born, I was cutting lawns. But we've done this before. Everything. And I just finished. Yeah, I didn't finish, but my memoir just got cleared by the Pentagon. Went through a publication review board. The name, I can tell you the name now. It's Thinker, Sailor, Black Man, Spy. And
clever.
I think it has gone through one of the longest publication reviews in Pentagon history. 22 months. Usually it takes you 90 days. If you're like, I know people who were like with Delta Force that took a year. Mine took almost 2 years. And I suspect it's because it sat on Pete Hegseth's desk and he just wouldn't release a book that's had the name Black Man in it. So, but the problem is everything that's in it, some of the things that you outlined, we're doing it again right now. And when I was in the Gulf, there was a reason that we didn't do any of this over the last 40 years.
Well, I want to ask you about one thing in particular that just crossed my desk, which you're probably already aware of, that apparently Kash Patel fired a unit that specializes in Iranian counter intel. And when I read the words counter intel, I was like, oh shit, that's literally what Malcolm Nance specializes in. So
actually, yeah, but I was going to say, actually, I'm counter-terrorism, but there's a counterintelligence component in all the things that we do, which is looking out for bad guys, right? These people, though, were spy hunters. They were the people who hunted Iranian spies, Iranian terrorist cells, Iranian sympathizers, government, personnel, IRGC members trying to come into the West and the United States. Now, I know what you're going to ask, and I'm going to preempt that. Kash Patel knew we were invading Iran. And he had taken these people and essentially made them beat cops and then fired them all just as we're invading Iran.
Why?
Now, who does that benefit?
I don't know. Who?
Key bono there. Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, one, it benefits Donald Trump because it gets rid of the people who actually investigated him, and it helps Israel, to tell you the truth, which means that we now are going to have a 100% dependency on Israel to give us any intelligence about Iran's spies and infiltration. I don't know a country that would ever sacrifice their own capability to protect themselves And and as you know, we've talked about this before. I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. Yiddish was the first foreign language I ever spoke. I saw myself as an ally against terrorism in the the Israel-Palestinian Hamas war.
Right.
But this is now crazy.
Yeah.
We are dancing to another country's tune, and to get rid of our spy hunters and then depend 100% on somebody else is criminal negligence.
Okay, so you said the key words right there. Excuse me. You said dancing to someone else's tune. Now, Marco Rubio the other day, I'm sure you saw this, opened his big fat mouth and said that we attacked because we knew that Iran was going to retaliate after Israel attacked. So is it safe to say that we are fighting Israel's war?
I'm going to set that aside because you may have missed a more blatant, open confession than what Marco Rubio said. Marco Rubio was trying to deflect blame. And Pete Hegseth, in his first briefing, made it eminently clear that the United States and Israel were attacking Iran symbiotically as he referred to it as the joint allied force. We only use the phrase allied when you are actually a partner in a campaign. And he didn't mean the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, Qataris. He said the United States and Israel launched these attacks with the intent to decapitate the Iranian regime, which was Israel's job, also to degrade all of these air defense systems and ballistic missiles that were hitting Israel in western and central Iran. And the United States was going out and doing attacks on strategic targets and attacking the U.S. Navy. And then the Iranian Navy. And then once someone asked him, right, are you doing any coordination with Israel? He said, and I almost quote, "We have spent thousands upon thousands of man hours coordinating with Israel on this campaign. And we have liaison officers assigned to the Israeli armed forces and theirs assigned to the U.S. armed forces." Now, that is what an allied operation is. Go ahead.
That makes literally no sense to me. I mean, I know what you're saying, but it makes no sense. It makes zero sense to me that we were equal partners in this plan, because it doesn't seem like there was any plan. Like, for instance, we found out yesterday that there was no plan to evacuate Americans that are stationed or that are living in Iran. They were told to call the State Department and arrange, to arrange evacuation. And then when it picked up, there was a message saying, "Oh, by the way, you can't count on the U.S. government to evacuate your ass. Every man for himself."
When it picked up, it essentially said, "Hi, this is the U.S. State Department. Please leave the country by any means necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter."
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is utter incompetent. But we have 4 levels you have to look at here. DIME, right? Diplomatic, intelligence, military, and economic. And there was no diplomatic campaign other than coordinating with the Israelis, because this wasn't Israel was going to attack Iran because Iran was 1 week away from an atomic bomb breakout, which I had been hearing for almost 40 some years from Benjamin Netanyahu, right? But on the other hand, we were coordinating with our Arab allies about what the United States was going to do, to the point where we removed military bases and, jets and fighters, moved all that stuff. on the intelligence apparatus, we are neck deep with Israel. Israel has a deep bench inside of Iran proper because they have many people that, speak the language, live there, all those things, right?
Yeah.
So the United States, apparently, based on what Pete Hegseth said, planned this operation with Israel. Israel was responsible for leg one, which was the decapitation at midday on Saturday, the 28th. That was where they had Khamenei and his senior battle staff meeting in his residence in a subterranean compound. And they killed him exactly the same way that they killed Hassan Nasrallah, of the leader of Hezbollah. This is a personalities and leadership decapitation strike. The problem with a country that has 93 million people and was born of an Islamic fundamentalist revolution, which the people wanted, is that they have a deep bench. You can't kill every imam in Iran. It's just not possible. But Israel convinced Trump that we're going to do this. And Trump is now viewing all of these campaigns out of two playbooks. One, Benjamin Netanyahu's, the others, Tom Clancy's. And at the end of a book, Sum of All Fears, this is exactly what he did. The United States assassinated the leader of Iran with a laser-guided bomb that CIA guys were designating with a laser at the end of the book. And that's what these guys think. I'm not joking.
This is very interesting what you said, and because it ties in exactly with what I was going to ask you. So you said that in a country of, I think you said 93 million people.
93 million people.
They have a very deep bench. So when I saw the news, I was like, holy cow, they took out like 40 something mullahs or whatever, and like now they're looking at the Ayatollah's son but he's probably, his days are numbered as soon as they named him. So my question is, if they keep killing possible successors, who are they going to negotiate with? Like,
they have no intention of negotiation. This is now an assassination campaign, which was kicked off by Israel. We have now picked up that mantle. And I think that, and to come out and say the reason that we did this war was because we knew Israel was going to attack. And if Israel attacked, which is funny because they attacked last year, they attacked 2 years ago, why suddenly are they going to do it? Because you knew,
because they're chanting death to America.
They have been saying Bag America since I was 18 in 1979. The first protest I went to was when they had taken hostages, and that's what they're chanting, right? Death to America, right? It's not down America like some people like to think. It's an Iranian word. So this is par for the course. But chanting death to America is not a reason for a death sentence. We have decided there will be no leadership in Iran. And if there is, the United States, from this point onward with Israel, will embark on an assassination campaign. Now,
but to what end? Like,
surprise, right?
Leave a power vacuum. Like, who's going to run Iran then?
I have some news for you. First off, Iran is running on its own. There's something people just don't understand. I mean, it's literally everything. How can I put it? East of the Mississippi, right? The Iran is the size of the entire American Midwest, or 2.5 Texases, right? It would extend from the Rio Grande all the way to Canada, or all the way to Chicago, and then halfway in each direction. With 93 million, there's one Iranian for every 3 Americans in this world. It's an enormously large population, well-educated, politically very savvy, right? The systems that are in place there after they overthrew the Shah of Iran in 1979 are there because they want them there. They wanted an Islamic fundamentalist government, right? They put that in. It is part of the culture, the net that is the creation of Iran. But it also has its own problems with regards to ethnicities. 10% of Iranians are Kurds, 17% are Azeris, I think like 7% are Laks, You have 3% are Baluch on the eastern side, and they are all Shia. Most are Shia Muslims.
Mm.
And that is the thing that binds them. Quick story before you ask another question, because this will illustrate this. When I was in Iraq and I had Iraqi bodyguards, I was brought up to the shrine of Imam Hussein and the shrine of Caliph Ali, right? Which are the two revered central figures, other than the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that is in Shia Islam. I prayed with those guys because it was only right. They invited me into the shrine to see the sarcophagus, all of this, right? But one of my bodyguards made a very interesting statement to me. He said, Malcolm, Chief, we love you. You're a great guy. But if Imam Sistani or, if Muqtada al-Sadr says to kill you, I'm going to have to kill you. Okay? These people have a culture that we are trying to engineer through bombs to do what we want. Right. These are the guys that lost 1 million men in the Iran-Iraq war, sent 10,000 children with keys around their necks to walk through minefields and to eat bullets. If they call their own holy war, and most Iranians buy into it, right, that they're going to fight and to devastate the Persian Gulf and invade Iraq and go through Kuwait, this entire region from the Mediterranean all the way past Afghanistan, from the Indian Ocean up to the Caspian Sea, including Turkey, could be embroiled in full-scale war because of this stupidity. And in case you're wondering, when I was 26 and fighting the first battles in the Persian Gulf, the Battle of Syria Island, Operation Praying Mantis, which was direct ship-to-ship combat in there, there's a reason we did not push this further for 40 years, because we understand there are people, a culture, a place, and a time. And the time was in January, because we didn't help those people.
Let me ask you, you said January. So I mentioned earlier in my intro that that the guy who promised no new wars has done nothing but, start new wars. Although you could argue and say that what happened in Venezuela technically was not a war. It was more like a strike and an extraction. But,
Geneva Convention classifies it as a conflict, even if one party doesn't recognize the attack.
It is war. It is warlike. Let's call it.
No, it was a war. It was definitely a small one, but it was a war.
Okay. Lindsey Graham, while we're only 5 days into this war in Iran, which some people are calling a war, and some people are saying it's not a war, but it's definitely a war. Lindsey Graham is already licking his chops, looking at Cuba. What the actual fahizi is going on? Like, I learned when I was growing up, like, before you work on some other plate of food, you got to finish the food that's in front of you in your own plate. Why are we already looking down the road at Cuba? What is happening?
Look, I got to tell you something. Everything changed for the Trump administration on, 2 January, when they did the Venezuela war, right? And that, by the way, a war is characterized by the intensity and violence of conflict and the length of the campaign. We had already been engaged in a campaign against them from July 2025. That's when the president did a secret finding authorizing the CIA and then moved military forces down there. That campaign just culminated with the attack and the extraction of Maduro. It was Trump that turned the war off, right, by turning the regime over. But after that weekend, there was a debate between the two principal players at the White House. And as you know, I went to Greenland. I've spent the last year warning that Trump is very serious about invading Greenland. And that weekend is when, what's his name? Stephen Miller, right? The guy who I famously called Baby Goebbels on Real Time with Bill Maher. His wife, Katie Miller, put out that map of Greenland with the American flag, and it said, soon. right?
Yeah.
That weekend, that debate broke out. Stephen Miller wanted an immediate special operations mission to seize Greenland. But see, I had been telling the Danes this for a year, and the Greenlanders, the Halalishut people, that this is a possibility. They could take this country in an hour. The Danes armed. They brought in military forces last year, started flying in fighter planes. That was discussed. The next side was Marco Rubio and Lady Lindsey Graham, who wanted an invasion of Cuba.
Yeah.
And if you look at the news that weekend, Miller was talking about Greenland on Sunday. Graham and Rubio were talking about Cuba the next day. Those were the two poles. Iran was always going to happen. That's Trump, Netanyahu. Nobody below them had to convince those two. Netanyahu has been wanting to do this, like I said, since I was in my 20s. So, I'm 64 now, so that's a long ass time. So for 40 some odd years, he's been saying that you have to invade, you get rid of Iran. But you can't do anything about Iran. All you can do is blow up the buildings and blow up the weapons systems. But the 93 million people still exist.
Right.
The government won't collapse. They were trying to get not regime change, but regime collapse by now bombing IRGC offices and things like that. So long as those guys have dates, tea, and a bed to sleep in at their own home, the regime is not going anywhere.
So what's in your opinion, what is the worst case scenario if we are down in Iran for more than a month? What is the end result of our dipping our toes into Iran?
Today I wrote a Substack. If you guys will go to malcolmnance.substack.com, called 1001 Arabian Nightmares. And in it, I list out 4 scenarios that could happen in the next 30 days that could change the entire history of the world, or at least certainly in that region. And so this war will go on for months. Mainly because we are essentially doing, if you remember back in the 1980s and 90s, we decided we were going to patrol, create a no-fly zone over Iraq. And every day we were flying thousands of fighters over there, and the Iraqis were like shooting at us with machine guns, and we'd bomb each machine gun nest. And that went on for years.
Yeah.
That is what we are about to embark on in Iran. When they say we have air supremacy, that means we have the ability to fly over it unhindered. And here's a word the White House has started picking up for everything: dominance. When we have aerial dominance, it means there is nothing on the ground that can touch us. They have said, Pete Hegseth said it, General Kane has said it, that when we get air supremacy and then dominance, all we will do is fly around that country hunting to blow things up. We will own that airspace, but to own that airspace will require us to keep all of those air forces there, flying over a country that it takes 2.5 hours to fly across, right? Not to mention the hour, 45 minutes if you're in Saudi, what we call the USS Saudi Arabia, right? We use all those air bases. It's long distance, and then you got to pull a combat air patrol, and you may have the way we did in Afghanistan, B-52s. Please, all of these things could get bad because these people think that if you're flying over in an airplane, that you will automatically know what every minivan, every truck, every pickup truck is doing. And you and I both know you live in Brooklyn, right? Do you know everything that's going on in every warehouse in Brooklyn?
Man, you don't even know what's going on the next block over.
Correct. Now I want you to magnify that times 93 million people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think that, we're gonna take down all the drone factories. Drone factories are gonna be in every individual person's garage, not in a giant warehouse. But they may make a fake giant warehouse for you to bomb that might hurt people while they're making drones. Drones will be pouring into Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Manama, Kuwait City, Tehran, Ras Tanura, Ras Al Nuft, all these places for the next year. They have 88,000 of them, and we don't know where most of them are.
So I have a pretty good imagination, right? I'm
Okay,
pretty good, and
hit me.
in my brain, if the United States remains there, it becomes like a bit of a quagmire, and there's
Mhm.
no real, like, we've gone in without any real goal, in my opinion, other than to possibly just distract from the Epstein files. But so we're there for, let's say we're there for a year, and
We will be there.
we've assassinated a bunch of people, and we've bombed a bunch of targets, but the Iranians, now they're standing up and they're like, hey, who the hell are these people bombing us and attacking us? And some people apparently still have national pride, and so they're like, you know what, let's fight back. And we've already seen what happens when people fight back against a massive force with Vietnam. In
Yeah.
Vietnam, we should have wiped the floor with them, but instead they buckled down, and they're like, we got you, we got something for that ass, and we got sent packing with our tail between our legs. So in my
Mhm.
opinion, if we stay there more than a year, this thing, we're ultimately going to end up like Vietnam, or like the first
Well,
Afghanistan, like, leaving with our tail between our legs.
I have a feeling we won't be there, and it won't be something that we will be responsible for. It's another article that I'm writing where external forces could stop us dead in our tracks. And here are two of the external forces. I don't know who the moron is that came out and made the statement that the CIA was working with the Peshmerga in Iraq and were going to be working with the Kurdish, Iranian Kurd community,
Yeah, I saw that.
which borders on the southern side, on the northern side, uh, I'm sorry, on the southern side of the Iranian Kurdish zone is parallel to the Iraqi Kurds. The northern side is parallel to the Turkish Kurds. And now the Israelis, in their infinite wisdom, which showed us that this campaign had been planned way in advance, just started blowing up all the border checkpoints and all the IRGC facilities on the Kurdistan border area of Iraq and Turkey. Now you think, wow, great. Now CIA paramilitary, special forces will go over there, give them weapons, equipment. They will get the Kurdish Iranians to rebel, which is 10% of the population. The only problem with that is you have 17% of the population to your northeast are Azeris, and they're Turkic. And then you have this country named Turkey to the west, all right, that absolutely hates all Kurds. And when they see the fundamentals of a new Kurdish state forming, Turkey will invade and may even work with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard to put an end to this. This is stupidity and madness that no one asked about. Because the Kurds, Trump, by the way, betrayed the Kurds who helped us defeat ISIS. So
Yep.
you think at the first shot of Erdogan mobilizing 100,000 men to go into Turkish Kurdistan and to work both sides of the border, to make sure that there is no Kurdish rebellion in Iran? Wallah, this is madness. It's madness. This is, you know what it reminds me of? The first day I was in the Republican Palace in Baghdad, and they wanted no experts in the Middle East or from State Department on Bremer's staff. This is worse because you have a drunk running the Pentagon. You have a
Mm.
bunch of ideologues running around going, this is going to be awesome. We're changing the Middle East. It's George W. Bush if everyone was, imagine George W. Bush's administration if everyone was an active meth head. That's about where we are right now. We're so
You
screwed. This is not funny.
you made reference to the head of the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth. Could you
Whiskey Pete.
yeah. I'm curious. So you served, and I'm
Mm.
sure you have your finger on the pulse of how other of your fellow servicemen and women think and feel about how things are. How do you think the average person serving views a guy like Pete Hegseth with all of his chest
Oh,
beating and his pronouncements and what
yeah,
what
yeah.
what are they saying about him?
Universally he's considered a joke. He's a joke. The guy never made rank past captain. He was a National Guardsman who volunteered to go with an active duty unit to Afghanistan and then come back, and now he's running the largest military machine in history. He is isolating our allies. He's he's a joke. And when he gives his briefs up there every morning, he doesn't read his briefing materials. He's wearing a boatload of makeup. He doesn't have any real experience. And what he's doing there is he's there as a male cheerleader, And so the only thing he's missing is the little bullhorn, and the tight white pants. But if the guy is literally considered a joke. The problem is that the military follows lawful orders. And thus far, the orders have been lawful. Go, and guys when you're in the military, the first thing they're thinking is like, I want some action. I want to go do some things. Trump is giving everybody 3 rows of medals between Venezuela, attacking small craft in the Caribbean.
Was that legal, by the way?
No, no, it's murder. Which is why most people who are trigger pullers are in special operations. It was a special operations task force. The regular military didn't do that. Right. So, and General Kane came from special operations.
Those special operations guys, they don't fall in the same chain of command?
They do. They just don't give 2 flips. Right. And they are now, after Venezuela, they are a protected class. Look, Trump pardoned convicted war criminals, special forces and SEALs. Can pardon them who had conducted murder according to the armed forces of the United States. So what do you think is going to happen there? By the way, I don't know if you noticed, we went to war with Ecuador today.
What?
Surprise.
No.
So, yep, the U.S.
Are you kidding? What?
The U.S. took part in counter-drug operations with Ecuador today, raiding cartel safe houses and raiding drug manufacturing facilities with military personnel too.
I'm very confused.
You should be confused.
And speaking of confused, I came across a tweet. I'm sure you're familiar with that guy on the right, Matt Walsh. He's he's not a good guy. Okay, but
all you got to do is ask his wife.
Oh, excuse me. Yes.
Remember, he was the guy that had some issues, right?
Indeed.
That played out in public on a security camera, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the guy?
Oh, no. I think that's the other guy, the pizza. That might be the pizza dude.
No, you're thinking Jack Posobiec. It's not Jack Posobiec. It's Matt Walsh.
There's so many horrible people. Anyway,
I know they're horrible. Anyway, you could cut that out. That's not correct. But what did this moron say?
Well, this particular guy posted something that actually I was kind of surprised by. He says, so far we've heard that although we killed the whole Iranian regime, this was not a regime change war. And although we obliterated their nuclear program, we had to do this because of their nuclear program. And although Iran was not planning any attacks on the U.S., they also might have been, depending on who you ask. And although we're not fighting this war to free the Iranian people, they are now free, or might be, depending on who seizes power, and we have no idea who that will be. The messaging on this thing is, to put it mildly, confused.
Yeah, the messaging. People are dying. Almost 1,000 Iranians have died. U.S. service members have died. 6 U.S. service members have died. We are going to, at this point, on track to spend what did they say? $200 billion.
Oof.
When this, almost a third of the Pentagon budget is being spent on this campaign and the op tempo of all of our soldiers. Look, even a broken clock is right once a day, right? Or twice a day. And so in this particular instance, I think he's joining the Marjorie Taylor Greene movement, and he's feeling out the no war Trumpers. But trust me, he will be right back on it and praising, the magnanimity of Whiskey Pete Hegseth and how awesome a president Donald Trump is. They are grifters of the highest order and magnitude. So what more did you expect? But geez, you're agreeing with these people. Utterly amazing that they, for one instance, have a modicum of common sense. But I'm sure it'll be erased by the morning.
Yeah. So Donald Trump, in his speech, you probably remember from this past weekend when he announced that we were at war or we were bombing, whatever.
At war.
He specifically spoke to the Iranian people and he told them to go inside. Their bombs are going to be falling everywhere. But then he said he told the I think it's the IRGC to like lay down their weapons and surrender. Who are they surrendering to? Like, we don't, right? I mean, we don't have boots on the ground, do we? And if we did, like, who would they even surrender to? And why would they surrender?
Well, I'm certain we have boots on the ground. It's just the method of that. The kind we would have would be working with the Mossad, CIA paramilitaries, search and rescue teams that are pre-positioned in the mountains that don't want to be there forever, right? This is the problem. Okay, these people are using mental illness as a foreign policy decision-making tool. This could change. The reason there are 8 different versions of why we went to war is because Donald Trump has stated 8 different times reasons that we're supposedly going to war. No one can keep track of a demented old man who has no idea what he's doing. This guy, like he said, he was setting this up to be the Venezuela model, but we accidentally killed everybody that we had designated that we wanted there. Oh well. Well, the people who actually killed them were the Israelis, because the Israelis did the initial strike for us. And the Israelis' job is none of them survive. But no one is going to be surrendering. I am dead certain. I have worked in the Muslim world my entire career. And I have sat and done Diwan with these guys, eaten with my hands with these guys, ridden the camel, drank the tea. They are joking amongst each other, the Rev Guard officers. Hey, are you surrendering to me today? Yes, yes, I am ready to surrender. There's 800,000 Basji volunteers who are on active duty. There are 25 million Iranians who consider themselves ready for volunteer service who have the card of the Basji. They are the dominant force. You can blow up their headquarters and their ammo dump so long as they are all, I've seen photos of it today, so long as they are all sitting in cafes on street corners with rifles. They are the power. The Iranian people rose up 1 month ago in January, and Donald Trump didn't lift a finger. That was the time. I believe it is past. No one, and here's another thing. No one is going to throw an Islamic revolution, because they're all good Shia Muslims. They're all good Muslims. They go to mosque on Friday. They do zakat. They do Saum. They do Hajj. Are you gonna rise up for the Americans and the Israelis at their direction? And tell your neighbor that you're going to do that? I've been around over there, and let me tell you something. There's some things they will do, and there's some things they will not do. I've been saying this for years. It must be self-starting. It must be spontaneous, and it must not have our fingerprints on it.
If you could give the Trump administration direct advice for what they should do over the next 48 hours, let's say, what would your advice to them be?
Over the next 48 hours?
Yeah.
Well, you can't say much over the next 48 hours. Look, I've been in combat operations.
Let's call it the next 2 weeks then. 2 weeks.
Okay, let's say the next 2 weeks. Well, the problem is the people that they're really going to have to watch out for now are not the Iranians. It's the Emiratis. It's the Qataris. It's the Kuwaitis, and definitely the Bahrainis.
Why?
The actual regime that we may see change first is the Sabah. No, it's is it the Thanis are Qatar, the Sabahs of Bahrain. They may go. That country is overwhelmingly Shia. All right, has been since the end of the first Islamic Civil War in 658, if I'm not mistaken. It has been Shia for almost 1,400 years.
Mm.
And those people were rioting in force over the last 2 days, right? Molotov cocktails attacking people. They could, in fact, overthrow the power structure there if without any Iranians doing anything. They've been ready for this for some time. So over the next 2 weeks, those forces, those countries, those sheikhs are going to be coming and seeing if there is some light at the end of the tunnel, because the drone attacks are not going to stop on those countries. We may have killed 85% of the ballistic missiles, but how do we know? How do we know that 85% of the ballistic missiles just weren't put into people's garages and we're just waiting for us to think that we've done that? Or drones, 5,000 drones, drone day will be this next coming Sunday, right? In honor of the Christian Sabbath. And then suddenly cities that have been pummeled, start really getting hit, right? Like in Dubai. And they start hitting not just the Fairmount Palm on the Palms, Jumeirah, right? They've already hit the power plants down in Jebel Ali and other places. I lived there for 10 years. They could really start raining hell down. And they are the Emiratis, the Saudis, Qataris, they're using multi-million-dollar missiles to take down $20,000 drones. Two $20,000 drones destroyed two $1 billion air defense systems in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates.
Wow.
Wow. So the advice will be,
is that called asymmetric warfare?
That is beyond. Oh, they haven't even started asymmetric warfare. Asymmetric warfare is where you use your enemy's strength and do judo against it, using forces that you would not predict and less than you have. And that is in my 1001 nightmare scenario. Iran could carry out an operation they tried to carry out in 1987. They didn't follow through. They could put the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is said to have 33,000 small craft in garages, in warehouses, and things like that with engines. They could put 5,000 men on 1,000 small boats overnight and storm across the Persian Gulf and land in every oil field in eastern Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and manually duke it out with their forces and blow those places up.
You just reminded me about the threat that I heard that came out of Iran, that they were saying that they were going to set boats on fire in the Strait of Hormuz. Is that possible? And
Yeah.
if it is possible, how would they go about doing that? And
Well,
is it advisable?
I don't think they meant that they were going to be that is an old tactic from the age of sail, right? Called fire ships. They don't mean that. What they mean is what they did to 3 other ships already. One was hit by a cruise missile, one was hit by a remote controlled suicide bomb drone, and the other was hit by some sort of rocket fire that they haven't yet to determine. And they set fire to those 3 boats. And one of them was struck north of Fujairah, which has like 200 tankers sitting in front of in the Indian Ocean. I don't think the Rev Guard has even tried yet. Now, the people say, well, they destroyed the Iranian Navy in Bandar Abbas. Yeah, because that's the Iranian Navy. They're not the Rev Guard, right? The Iranian Navy is, they're show ships. They were always going to get sunk. How they didn't get sunk on the first day and we sank a bunch on the 5th day, just as a scheduling and bad targeting. But could they set fire to the tankers that are not in the Strait of Hormuz? It's the ones that are off of Abu Dhabi, in that giant space between Abu Dhabi and Qatar. There are hundreds of tankers waiting there, including liquid natural gas carriers. And if you hit one of those things, that's an atomic bomb. It has all the blast effect of like a 1 or 2 kiloton atomic bomb, which is why Qatar shut off all natural gas production yesterday. All of it shut off completely.
Let me ask you another question. I think this is definitely 100% in your wheelhouse. The specter of false flag attacks came up the other day. I don't remember what the context was, but somebody made the observation that it's very possible that false flag attacks could happen here in America in order to help, I don't know, galvanize national sentiment and get more people supporting the effort against Iran. And maybe they would leave a what do you call, like a Quran and some kind of circumstantial evidence. Here it was a Tucker Carlson thing. It's Tucker Carlson just revealed that Qatar and Saudi Arabia busted Mossad agents red-handed rigging explosives to slaughter innocent locals and frame Iran. So,
yeah, well, first off, I generally, as an intelligence professional, never listen to Tucker Carlson when he says anything. Right? And I have a standing fatwa to slap the hell out of him because he attacked me a few years ago out of the blue. Was like, well, this MSNBC, analyst, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know who you are other than the fact that you are a bow tie salesman. So, Tucker Carlson, now that he is a full-blown asset of the Russian Federation and he's taken over the Glenn Beck what if world, there is no need to do a false flag attack when real flags are out there. Right? The Iranians don't have the capability to strike in the United States. They never had. The biggest plot that they had was going to kill was supposedly tracking down John Bolton. All aspirational, probably made up in some instances. Will there be, from a counterterrorism perspective, our problem isn't organized intelligence assets in the United States. It's self-starting people who are mentally unbalanced, who will take this and do it with, maybe they're Shia Muslim, maybe they're just Muslim, like the guy in Austin, Texas. Was it Austin? Somewhere in Texas. Yeah. Who the gunman who went there, he just saw it as he was a Jundallah, right? He was a soldier of God.
Oh, wait. Because the guy who had the sweatshirt, the hoodie that said property of Allah.
Yeah, but I expect those guys. And, they're self-starting, flash in the pans. But you can't really tie that to Iranian intelligence, right? So there's no real need to do a false flag attack because they generally fall apart.
Well, hang on a second, because I wasn't talking about Iran's doing a false flag. I was talking about
no. You're talking about the United States or another country doing a false flag. And but why bother? I mean, we're bombing the bejesus out of them, and there's no need for it.
For the benefit of our audience, I just want to briefly explain what a false flag is, and correct me if I'm wrong. A false flag is when you basically punch yourself in the eye and then blame it on this guy over here as a pretext to declare war on this guy over here. In the context that I'm bringing up here is that this war is incredibly unpopular to to Americans in general. I think there was like 65% of Americans are against this happening in Iran right now. So if Trump and his regime need public support behind their actions, one way to do that would be to get support against Iran by staging an attack that looks like it was plotted by Iran. You leave a little Quran there, leave a little Iranian flag, and like, oh, look, they did it to us. And then now you got people signing up for active duty service and blah, blah, blah.
Well, technically in intelligence tradecraft, a real false flag is when you make an asset or a deployable human weapon system, right? Which is what we call suicide bombers, believe that they are working for another country. So it would never be the Mossad coming over or the British intelligence coming over and saying, we're British intelligence, we want you to blow this thing up. You would lead someone to believe that you're Argentinian intelligence and that you are working to stop an attack. And to do that, you need to drop this bag at this mall. I mean, it's the problem is it's at 27% approval now in the United States. And a mass casualty attack within the United States would devastate the country. It would not have a salutary effect. It would have a depressive effect, and you would get down to 10%. But why would you even bother to do that? You can bomb Iran and make, there's a segment of MAGA that's all about what we call bombs, guns, and helicopter rides. Right? These are the people that will never serve in the armed forces or send their kids there, but they all want to see the B-2 bomber flying over during NASCAR. Right? Weird. They love the movie version of what's going on. So no need to do that.
This is why I love talking to you, because you were so smart. You probably forgot more stuff than most people know.
Technically, yeah. What's funny, as I was writing, I was re-editing my memoirs. Now the redacted version came back to me with all the black spots, and I was going, "Ooh, that story's awesome!" I was remembering things that I had done that were in the book, that I had written the memoir over 2 years, and then I had this 2-year review. But yeah, it's easy to forget things when you're old and salty like me, right? And you're out there on the street. But many of these circumstances we're seeing today have happened to me already back in the 80s. For example, we now want to offer merchant ship insurance because Lloyd's of London will no longer insure ships going through the SOH, the Strait of Hormuz. Wow. So now Trump has directed the Department of Commerce, right, to use to offer insurance. The first thing that we always learn when it comes to dealing over on that part of the world and merchant ships, I have been and responded to a merchant ship that deliberately scuttled itself because its cargo, which was sheep, had a mass infection in it. Right? And so to get the money back, they were going to defraud the insurance company. We are now the insurance company. 1 out of every 10 merchant ships is going to claim their attack, set fire to themselves, sink themselves, and then want the money from the United States government. That has never been offered before, but escorting tankers, we offered that in 1985 under Operation Earnest Will, where we were escorting Kuwaiti tankers back and forth, and we got mined, small boated, aerial attack, all sorts of stupid things happened to us, right? Wow. Tankers took hits, caught fire under our escort. Why are we doing this stupidity again?
They say those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it, and I'm guessing that's why they picked a stooge like Pete Hegseth to head up the whole operation, because it's clear he is in way over his head.
He's cartoon character. He's cartoon character. I predict that in the future they will not even put his portrait up. Like the way that Trump is taking portraits down, Pentagon, he will do something disgraceful. There will be a mass casualty event, or he has now eclipsed Rumsfeld by an order of magnitude. Rumsfeld was at least learned and relatively competent. This guy is just, a frat boy being given a machine, whiskey and a machine gun and told to go dance in front of the fire.
What's the best case scenario in your opinion? So we've been doom and gloom this whole hour.
Well, we are talking about a major war in the Persian Gulf. So
is there any possibility? I'm going to ask you this: is there any possibility that we speedily extract ourselves from this and stay out of any other foreign entanglements for the foreseeable future? Is that a possibility?
0% possibility. 0%. He's already. I got to tell you a funny story. Remember how he supposedly stopped? What was it? 8 or 10 wars?
Oh yeah, he tells us every day.
When we gain control of the ballistic missile thing, and they're not dropping ballistic missiles every day in there, he's going to claim the 12 countries that were under attack by Iran, that each of those was a war he ended. Right? He'd be like, yes, Bahrain is on fire, but I ended that war with Operation Epic, whatever it is, Epic Rocks, or, Epic whatever. And it's just insane. It's just insane. I'm sorry, I cannot give you a happy clappy note. Okay, doom and gloom. Embrace the suck, as we say in the military. Doom and gloom is what you're destined to be until this should motivate us, right, to be flipping plus 20 Trump areas. This should motivate us to come together to ensure that that the election is beyond reproach and we blow out the margins, right? And by the way, for all my brothers and sisters who in the African American community who think that none of this involves you after the loss of Kamala Harris and Jasmine Crockett, fight's on. You are on a small boat. It is on fire from end to end, and you can't lay on the deck and start thinking about drinking a Coke and having a suntan. Our entire American existence and culture is on the chopping block. And this war is sending, by the way, 43% of the armed forces are people of color.
Wow. Malcolm, we already know this, what you just said. We know.
No, I gotta reiterate it.
But I'm gonna tell you, like, it I'm including myself in that group too. It pisses us off to no end that we are the responsible ones. We are that vote that you can count on with your eyes closed. That you never hear people saying, "Oh, we have to appeal to the black community." Nobody's like trying to win our votes. They're always going after the what is it? The uneducated college blue collar voters, and then they don't come after us because they know we're going to vote reliably Democrat 9 times out of 10, right? So
we lost African American men, right? We lost some ground with African American men. We lost a lot of ground with white women, and we lost blue collar white men was always going to be a problem. The problem is this: if you come to the table, bring a menu with you. Okay, don't read off somebody else's menu. Come with your demands. Okay, but the way that the Free Palestine movement did it, which arguably gave Trump Michigan, all right, and while they were calling Kamala Harris, Holocaust Harris, and all these other horrible things, she didn't call for the ethnic cleansing of 2.2 million people and forcing them to walk out so that they could create a beachfront property there, which is the official policy of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nope. I still got Free Palestine people that will not go to a Republican Party protest event and protest. They'll vote protest against the Democratic Party. We cannot shoot ourselves in the foot. This is the one time that people of color can exercise power by preserving the Union and sustaining the American experiment.
Thank you so much for saying that, Malcolm, because the thing that has concerned me the most over the past, 6 months is the attack on our voting rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw last night, I don't know if you were paying attention, you saw what was happening in Dallas County. A bunch of registered voters, citizens, not undocumented immigrants, U.S. citizens who've already voted in a specific polling place for 5 of the last elections. Suddenly they're being told, "Oh no, you can't vote here. You have to go to this other location." And they were like, "What?" Last minute, they're being told that.
I saw it. One woman had to go to 3 different places.
Yeah.
Right. Do you use naughty words on this program? I can't recall.
Oh yeah, you can't. Go ahead, go for it.
Yeah. Well, fuckery will abound, and it is our job to secure from fuckery, as we say in the military. Right? Stop the games. Inform everybody. Turn out the vote. This is true power. The way that Kristi Noem can order a sex jet and drive around with her boy toy, she's exercising power. Because you gave her the power to hate us and to abuse our money and to abuse our citizens and kill American citizens. Everyone who voted for Cornel West and Jill Stein. Did you notice Jill Stein is back in the news?
Oh my God.
She is the vote snatching cicada.
Wait, is it 4 years already? No.
Nope. No, they need to turn her out now. Trump and her team All right.
Damn.
You know, they're called controlled opposition. That's the intelligence phrase for when you want a party to split a party, you create or you support that party's most extremist candidate in order to not just peel off votes, but perhaps get into power. But they know they work for you. Jill Stein knows she works for Trump. She and RFK. They're like this, right? Cornel West, her strategy was let Trump destroy America, and the Green Party will come to power.
That will
And
never
here
happen.
she is, just this week, now making press conferences.
Wow.
Controlled opposition.
Well, we're just going to have to show up in very, very large numbers in November. What do you have a prediction for both the House and the Senate?
Yeah, I think we're going to take both. I think we'll take both the House and the Senate. You know, as much complaining as people have, we are getting rid of a lot of these dinos. We saw in North Carolina, Richard Ojeda run and won. He's a former Army officer.
That's right.
Against a Democrat that voted, to limit voting.
It's so insane to me. It's crazy.
And let me tell you, I believe there were 6 Democrats that voted for the SAFE Act. All of them have to go. This is where you exercise power.
Yep.
You get a choice in this matter. And then once you win, you need to pull their feet to the fire so they do what you need to do. Like make Jasmine Crockett Speaker of the House. She's eligible.
Yeah.
she got, or as my favorite choice, Chairman of the DNC.
I was so disappointed. I don't know if you even know if disappointed is the right word, but like the fact that Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico had to face off against each other, I thought was unfortunate because I happen to like both of them. And I thought that there were strong reasons to advocate for either of them being in that Senate seat. I like that she's a fighter, and I like that she's like really quick on her feet, and she has that, she doesn't have like a programmed perfect speech. She just comes from the gut. James Tallarico, on the other hand, his voice is like smooth like butter, and he somehow is able to speak in tones like like there's a dog whistle that only dogs can hear. Like he speaks in a way that kind of reaches out to MAGA a little bit, but he's still keeping it like democratic and progressive, but he speaks to that.
If he were smart, he would have a private meeting with her, a nice dinner over a bottle of wine, and say, listen, I need you to be a tack dog on this campaign. The first words out of your mouth is, Ken Paxton was indicted for stealing a Mont Blanc pen from a lawyer when it came out the other end of an X-ray machine. He's a thief.
Yeah.
That story is true, by the way.
I believe it.
Let her be the anger, the anger speaker interpreter for James Tallarico. But there are jobs from her. I know you're part of the machine sometimes. And you get invited to all those swanky DNC things. I don't know why I don't. That's amazing. But I've never been invited to the White House to any of those content creator things. And I've got a couple of million followers. But I'm not jealous. But who is Ken Martin?
He's the DNC guy.
Yeah,
right?
You see what I just did there? You know that answer.
Oh.
Nobody else does.
Because
Jasmine Crockett as chair of the DNC, though. Woo! That would be exciting.
That would be fun.
Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, you can vote in any individual to be Speaker of the House, so long as 51% of the caucus votes for it. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a sitting member of Congress.
That's very interesting. And
asymmetric warfare, right?
Indeed. Can you tell our audience, first of all, when is your next book coming out?
Yeah, probably next year. Again, it's 2 years behind because I'm sure it sat on Pete Hegseth's desk for a year. Any book that has the phrase "black man spy" in it, it's not going forward. And like I said, almost 2 years in review.
It was
And
Thinker,
Thinker, Sailor, Black Man Spy.
Right.
That's
That's a brilliant title. I love it. Love it. And they can look for your 1001 Arabian Nightmares.
Yeah. If you go to my Substack. Yeah, I've been doing almost nonstop Substack videos and my YouTube Black Man Spy channel on YouTube, where every morning at 9 a.m., me and a former Danish intelligence officer, we talk about the day's events from the two perspectives, and we're giving a every morning update because the news is just consistent and crazy. Don't try to follow this war. See, my dogs are warning against that ICE agents are nearby or something. So they're trying to tell me the administration is coming for me, which would be a mean trick since I'm visiting Canada right now. But the Black Man Spy podcast, you can go on there. I interviewed Rick Wilson the other day. That was a great interview talking about the war. And Substack at malcolmnance.substack.com. You can go read 1001 Arabian Nightmares. You will not sleep after reading that.
Well, thank you, sir. I want to thank Wilbur McCarthy there for chipping in there. Appreciate your support. And thank you so much for joining me. I always feel smarter when I finish a chat with you. So, seriously, thank you for that. And I wish I had spent some more time talking politics, because I forget how, so much about the foreign, about warfare and foreign policy.
Yeah.
I almost forget that you also have your toes dipped into the political scene too. So,
all connected.
Thank you. Hang tight for me while I sign off with the folks here. I'll see you on the other end.
All right.
And folks, thank you so much for joining us for a wonderful, amazing episode of the Defiant Weekly. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad Defiant. So I look forward to seeing you guys all here next week, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace. Incredible person, incredible human being. Yes, famous. Yes.